All right, everyone. Well, first of all, big thanks to Ibble for hosting this amazing event. Absolutely astounding amount of experts coming through, giving knowledge, insights, and more importantly, it's about the conversation. And in conversations is where you find the real person and the real information. So with that said, I'd like to bring up first my dear friend, Scott Erickson. He is an artist. He is an author. He is a teacher. He's an amazing father, and all around just an absolutely wonderful person who has decided to take his talents and his vision for life and share them with everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott Erickson.
It's like I'm at my own wake. I appreciate it.
That's what I'm waiting for, right? I'm gonna do your wake next. Don't worry. Perfect. I love it. And of course, talking with Scott and making this conversation more exhilarating than it could ever be, my dear.
All right. Can you hear me? What's up, everybody? How's the warmth? Thank you for coming out and braving this. I want to share something right now about Scott. His book, I have it in front of me. Say Yes. Discover the surprising life beyond the depth of a dream. We're going to get into some deep shit, so I'm excited.
Deep shit is right.
Exactly. Yeah. First off, let's go, before we talk about the how and the what.
Yeah.
And by the way, I will be fielding questions in the middle, so if you have a question in the middle, anything spark. Scott, tell me like the story of why the ideas behind this book started for you. What happened? Because a lot of the work as artists, as creators, it comes from life experience. And sometimes our best work, if not always, comes from pain. How did this get started?
Yeah. I just want to say, I see that we're all here together, and I know we're doing live stream and stuff like that, but I'm a trained spiritual director, amateur coach, things like that. So yeah, we're gonna have a conversation. And we're here together. Thanks for being here. I'm Norwegian, so my body's made for long Arctic sea voyages. So this is fine for me. It's like we're about to go take over another province or something. But if you feel like you need to get up and move around, do that. Shake yourself, run in place. Yeah, the best stuff, the best art is something that a person has gone through, and they're offering you.
It was kind of evolution of something. It was a talk that turned into a book.
Yeah, it was. Before that, it was something I was like, I have to figure out a way to live in the world. Like, I need to figure out a way to keep myself alive, to not give up on myself. Look, I know it's always weird to just kind of start talking about like suicide, but there is like a spectrum of suicide. There's a spectrum of giving up on yourself. You can binge watch something every single night and not deal with the conversation you know you need to have. You can tap your phone endlessly or open a bottle to numb the pain that keeps calling your name day by day. And yeah, you can go all the way to the end of that spectrum and go, I just don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
And why? What is the conversation? What is the thing? What is the thing we're going through? And I would say what I propose is the framework of kind of like a death of a dream. And now that would say like what is a dream? You know, because when we use the word dream, a dream can mean lots of different things, right? A dream could be like the images that are going on in your head at night as your mind is unloading the day. A dream could be like a house on a street of dreams, or some kind of object or thing or place to be. Or some of us, when we just hear the word dream, we just simply think of Ryan Gosling, because that man
Well, Ryan
is a
Reynolds.
dream.
I don't know. Ryan
right?
Reynolds is better. Ryan Gosling.
I'll
Ryan
put them in that
Reynolds.
same category.
All right, cool.
But a dream, according to the dictionary, which is the book about how we use words in our culture now, a dream is defined as a cherished desire. Now, when we start getting into
desire, we're like, uh-oh, that's a bit of a sexy word. Desire is a sexy word. Desire is a sexy word because it means you want something. There's something that you actually want out of your life. And what happens, what is the difference between a dream and a desire? I think what a dream is a dream is a version of your life or yourself where you have no vulnerabilities. When you've imagined a dream scenario, a dream body, a dream personality, a dream job, you've never imagined the vulnerabilities, the weaknesses, and limitations that are going to be there. You haven't imagined those. And so
you can live in the world is through your vulnerabilities. Now, vulnerabilities aren't necessarily our weaknesses or our limitations. It's actually our relationship to our weaknesses and limitations. How do you feel about having them? Is it something that you're ashamed of, or is it something that you want to hide? Or I actually think the path, the deep human journey, the deep spiritual journey is to understand that the way in which you connect and offer something to the world is through your vulnerabilities. It's the way that you connect to yourself, to people, even the divine.
Absolutely. So when we're talking about dreams, and you said this interesting, it's a place that you can imagine yourself being where there's no vulnerabilities. And we think about our dreams and what we want to do. And, I'm not saying it's standard, but we all want money, like this arbitrary number for people.
Which is there, we should go into that. But
Yeah,
keep
I
going.
think we 100%
like
should,
the why behind the why.
Exactly. And I think more people who are much younger than us, YouTube followers, let's say 1 million YouTube followers, or whatever that is, like status, or whatever that is. I want to live in a mansion. I want this. I want this. Let's say, let me put out one dream. Let's say I want like $10 million. How do you break that down and psychoanalyze me in the terms of the lack of vulnerability? Like, am I trying to get to a place where I feel like that money will make me safe from the pain that life can bring to me? Is that what I'm trying to do with that dream?
I would say what you have imagined is that the void or the lack you feel will be filled when you finally get that thing. And the eternal truth that has been written about in poems and music all throughout time has said it doesn't. I listened to this interview with J.J. Abrams, the film director, on Chris Hardwick's podcast a long time ago. It's when Force Awakens came out. And Chris Hardwick was like, JJ, you directed a Star Wars film. Like, do you feel different now that you've directed a Star Wars film? And J.J. Abrams goes, I've never felt different from any of the successes I've had. I thought I would feel different when I got my first screenplay picked up, and I didn't. I thought I'd feel different when I saw my name on a screen for the first time. I thought I'd feel different after I directed my first film. I never have, and I don't feel different after this. But it has been I've had tremendous gratitude for the process. And I think, like, I was working on this stuff myself. Let's get real honest. I was working on this stuff myself, and I was starting to talk about it. And I remember I was speaking at this arts conference in Boise, Idaho. And,
Boise's
like
cute.
you do. And I was running through some of this material, and people were like, this is really good. And then that was the day that we found out that Anthony Bourdain killed himself. And look, I'm not trying to be a chef. I'm not in the food industry, although I am an artist, so I've worked part-time for 10 years in the food industry. But Anthony, and I don't know him, and I wasn't friends with him, so maybe some of this is just my own projection. But Anthony Bourdain represented to a lot of us who are makers what we hope happens in our career, which is we're unabashedly ourselves. And by doing that, it brings about a bit of fame and success and opportunity and connections is what we want. And for Anthony Bourdain to say, I don't want to be in my life either, really held up a mirror to myself and go, well, what do you think it's going to do to you? why do you think it's going to fill all those things? And I actually think that like
you can get all those things, but you can still be miserable. There's a different kind of grounding work that has to happen. But so I have a dream of being successful and all that stuff. What I'm getting to about the vulnerabilities is that when we imagine finishing a marathon, we don't imagine maybe the 9 months of painful physical therapy that we have to do to finish that marathon because we're in our 40s and our knees stop working. Or even starting a business, you never imagine the awkward relationship you might have with an investor who fronted the capital to make your business happen. There's always going to be some kind of weakness, limitation, some kind of vulnerability in whatever you do. But that is the way in which you connect. And so why our dreams, our ideas of this perfection dies is because we're only offered a human experience. And I would like to submit to you that those become the way, those kind of connections with somebody else.
Something that forms this thing that I didn't see. This, having your limitations. There's a really great creative rule, which is as I'm a painter, just because I can use every color doesn't mean I should. So actually what artists do a lot is they set their own limitations because limitations allows you to go deeper. And I would say whatever you're going to endeavor towards, if it's a job or a career or a YouTube channel. Let's talk about YouTube. I love Casey Neistat. He's a great example. Casey Neistat, famous vlogger.
You guys know Casey Neistat?
Casey Neistat did a daily vlog in New York City for 525 days, something like that. He's really influenced a lot of modern vlogging. He lives in LA now, but he doesn't know After Effects. So, and he also trained with Tom Sachs, who's a great artist. So because Casey Neistat doesn't know a lot of technical stuff, his videos were instead of making a graphic that would swirl around, he literally just made a cartoon on a piece of paper and would cut it out and use a popsicle stick. Very lo-fi, very analog.
Yeah.
But that vulnerability that I don't know how to do this, but I can do this, that led to a super unique style that was charming and got a lot of popularity.
Interesting. Mm-hmm.
That's what I mean. Just because you don't know something, it's well, what do you know? And this is how we become, look, we live in a massive culture of comparison, more than any other human generation ever, because of our screens and our technology and our phones right now. We can witness other human lives unfolding, and it's amazing and exciting and addicting, and it's fun being a voyeur. But it also is creating this massive culture of comparison. And we have enough data now to know that therapists and psychologists are saying it's making us not interested in our life. It's making us feel less satisfied with being here. It's making us not want to be here anymore. So we have this technology is fueling this kind of existential crisis about I don't know who I'm supposed to be. I don't know how I can be a contribution. I don't know where to start. And so I think one of the practices we need to have, and this is what I had to start doing, this is what I still do. I do it every day, is whenever I get caught up in a comparative narrative, I move from comparison to contribution. I can say I can be a contribution today. I am a contribution. How can I be a contribution? And I think there's ways that we can practice being a contribution. What became really helpful for me, and we're talking about these vulnerabilities, I'll tell you one, is this idea of convergence. So I remember working...
let me jump in and add something real quickly.
Yeah.
Let me ask about the comparison thing, and I want to get some audience thing. Because you said the scrolling and that. Who here has Instagram or any other social media platform like that? Anything like that?
Yeah.
How much time do you spend a day? Because I want to dig deeper into that with the audience.
I mean, we can all check our phones right now.
Yeah, exactly. When I do this, and I'm admitting this, I go on Instagram and everybody's happy in a bikini or they're great looking and they have money, etc. So many people, and after a while, you look at all these images of people who are quote unquote successful and happy, and it's why am I on my bed just watching this? And that creates that comparison.
Yeah.
Does anybody else do that at all? Compare themselves to people on social media? I saw a nod.
Oh, I get caught into it. It's called death scrolling.
Death scrolling.
Yeah, you feel like death.
Yeah.
You're oh.
It's horrible. Absolutely horrible. So let's talk a little bit about that comparison thing.
Yeah.
Let's say I'm any kind of artist, right? I'm in the NFT space. I make food. I'm writing a book. I'm a podcaster.
Yeah.
We can't help but compare ourselves with other people. When this was going on, when you were looking at your dream, was that happening to you? Were you feeling like you had failed because you were comparing yourself to other people?
Oh, yeah. My creative hero is a year younger than me. And he knew what he wanted to do when he was 18. And since then, he's directed 3 films, created 7 one-man shows. I just feel like I've been falling down some stairs my whole life into present day. And like my kind of like painful, vulnerable moment, I had this moment where I put my kids to bed and I walked out in the living room and I just noticed I was crying. Not because I had had any particular magical bedtime experience with them, but something else was happening and I couldn't stop. And I eventually just landed in my bathroom, just on my toilet
crying for an hour. And I was like, what is happening to me? And I would describe it as like, oh, I'm grieving the death of something, the death of a dream. And for me, it was like realizing like, oh, I kind of know who I want to be in the world now. And I feel like, and I was about to turn 40, which I know is a number created by astronomy, but it feels like a threshold. And maybe this is a middle-aged conversation, but I was like, I kind of know who I want to be in the world.
I wish I knew this 20 years ago, and how do I start now? And as I was like, how do I start now? Maybe I need to start now. I was immediately confronted by these like inner arguments. I call it the voice of giving up. And so then I needed to start these counter arguments. So comparison for sure. I was like, there are people my age who are doing this, who are seasoned veterans at this already. And how am I supposed to do this?
Yeah.
Well, look, and this is like, you know what I think holds us back the most? Ourselves, but is
sorry, I had to jump in.
The realization that we're probably going to be embarrassed in some way, that there's a path of humiliation when you have to start anything. I have an analogy in the book about, have you ever seen anybody try to start learning ice skating for the first time? Nobody looks good ice skating for the first time. These little baby steps falling on your denim butt. Everybody who starts something looks awkward, but everything is a learned skill.
Yes.
And you can start going. And so I think it is like everything's a learned skill. You can keep developing and stuff. So I had to go, I think there can be healthy comparison. You're like, what are they doing? Let me figure it out. I see what they're doing. How are they? I look at a lot of speakers and stuff and I reverse engineer their talks and I'd be like, oh, they're doing this and then this and this and this. Okay, cool. I can do that too. I can learn that. But then I think how you move into contribution is when you think about how you're going to be the convergence of those things. So a while ago, I had a chance to work with a documentary filmmaker, and his name's Helmut Schleppy. Great name. And we were in Swaziland, right above South Africa. And one night we were having drinks, and he goes, in the 80s, you could know one thing in the film industry and have a career. And he's like, now you got to know lots of things. Like on this project, he's like, I'm the director, I'm the lead camera guy, I'm going to be the editor, I'm also a producer, all this stuff. And which kind of makes us feel like when we're starting out, it's like, wow, you need to know a lot of things to make it in the world right now. And that kind of makes us feel like we're never going to be the master of anything. And that maybe is true, because I think what we become the master of is something, it's not one talent. What we become the master of is how we bring all of these things that we know how to do or have experiences or that we love, and how do they uniquely converge together? That's what you become the master of. That's how you are a different kind of contribution. That is part of your contribution. So part of contribution is like, okay, I can learn these technologies, but what is my perspective? What things light me up and make me excited? Like when I was developing my first kind of one-man show, I had this section, I was like, I don't know what to do with it. And I was like, what am I good at? And I shit you not, I was like, you know what? I'm pretty good at karaoke. I won a karaoke contest one time in Oxford, England. I mean, I was competing with a bunch of drunk guys who were just singing Robbie Williams' Angel over and over again. So I won, but I was like, I like karaoke. I can get a crowd going. So I was like, what if I made a scene? What if I put a moment of karaoke in this thing? What if I called a random audience member up and we sang karaoke together? And it became like the favorite thing of the show, because it just would pick a volunteer from the audience and it became magical, and I set some things up and stuff like that. So now everything that I do, if it's like an hour-long thing, I make these weird karaoke moments because it's like a funny thing, because group singing and all this kind of stuff, it's great. It changes so it was my own unique like thing, my love, my perspective, something that lights me up, that I was able to add a unique contribution. And now when people who know my stuff, they're like, yeah, probably we're going to do some karaoke tonight.
That's perfect.
Something like
I've
that.
I've got a question on that. Can you share with us that moment that you realized your dream had died? Can you share a little bit about that dream, if that's, or no?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because I'm interested. Not because I'm like, hey, Scott, tell me this. It's because we just want to I just want to hear that story to.
Yeah,
because we all feel that in some
Yep.
ways. That small thing of failure and success. We try a small thing for a month and it may work or not.
Yeah.
Or we have this dream, idealized or not, realistic or not realistic, whatever that is. But what was that dream, and when did you realize? When did you think like, oh, this I haven't made it?
Yeah. And this is a creative rule, which is what's most personal becomes most universal. So I don't mind telling my own story, because even though you might not have the same,
You might find something in it. For me, I have been a vocational artist for almost 20 years.
Yeah.
Mostly, I've been a studio artist. I'm a painter and I'm an illustrator, and I did a lot of that. I started to my name is Scott Erickson, but I'm Scott the Painter on social media because
And Ibble, by the way.
and Ibble
Just a plug. Right
and
there.
but there's a lot of Scott Ericksons in the world. There was a famous baseball pitcher named Scott Erickson. So he's my internet arch nemesis. So when I was trying to find some real estate on the internet, my name was already taken. So I was on this tour with a band making paintings like you did in the 90s.
Of course.
Or in the 2000s. And they would be like, this is Mort the drummer, Neil the guitarist, Scott the painter. And so I just chose that. And I am a painter and I do that. But it wasn't that long ago my wife came to me and she was like, I know you are a painter, but I think you're actually a lot more. And I think the name you gave yourself is what's holding you back. And spouses have a way of getting through the shell of you, right? And I was like, you're right. And I had to step back and I was just like, what is it I'm trying to get to? What brings me to life the most? And when I looked back on my career, I was like, actually the places I felt most alive was not spending hours and hours in a studio by myself. It was actually when I was doing something with an audience. And I was like, I think I'm actually much more of a performing artist, and I was like, wow, that's weird because I don't want to do abstract work, nor do I want to get naked in front of people, which is what mostly we think of performing arts. So I was like, I was about to turn 40. I was the breadwinner for a family of 4. And I was like, I guess I got to start doing this stuff. And then
start over again?
I was like, I guess I start now. There's no time machine. I can't go back and join my theater class in college or something like that. I was like, I guess as a 40-year-old man, I got to start trying to do performing arts. And immediately, this inner voice was like, nobody gives a shit about a 40-year-old man trying to become a performing artist. And I was like, that's a strong argument. That's very strong because it sounds embarrassing. But I was like, maybe it's not true. And so I had to.
Can I jump in?
Yeah.
Because you said two things really interesting. You said you realized with the conversation with your wife that this name Scott the Painter was not representative of all you wanted to do. Did you realize you've always had one dream, but you just didn't? Sorry. At that age, did you realize you had this dream, but you never really mentioned it to yourself? Like it was under the surface? Was it like that, or was it like? Explain to me that.
Yeah, I forget the scientist's name, but
Albert Einstein.
Albert Einstein.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that was it. No, there was this scientist or a mathematician or something. There's somebody he looked at 100 artists, and he looked at when they actually made their peak piece of work, the agreed upon peak piece of work. And what he found is that there was a bit of a polarization, that some people make their best stuff young, and then some people make their best stuff later on. Like Harper Lee, she wrote To Kill a Mockingbird when she was 19. Wow. She never wrote another book again. She wrote one other one that they released after she had died, right? And people are like, it's not as great. So she successful very young. And then you have some people like Henry Matisse had a lot of great stuff, but even while he was bedridden in bed, he's making these paper cutouts that some people celebrated as his best work. So I think some of us know really young what we want to do, and then some of us kind of meander through life doing little things at a time, and then later on going, you know what, after my accumulative experience, I can see that I love this the most.
And you were the second?
And I was the second. I was like, I love this. And maybe things would have been different if I had a mentor that cued me, or I had a theater club in high school. I don't know, something. I can't go back in time. I can't change how things have happened. But the unique invitation was well, what would it look like to now start or build upon that? And then the deeper question is well, what are you uniquely prepared for to talk about because of where you're at, your experiences? And look, I started looking on the internet and it's all there, but like tons of people have started halfway through their lives. Vera Wang didn't start designing clothes until she was 40. Julia Child didn't write her first cookbook until she was 50. Stan Lee didn't have his first comic book hit until he was 39. Samuel L. Jackson didn't have his breakthrough acting performance until he was 43 in Spike Lee's film Jungle Fever. If he would have given up acting in his 30s, we would live in a universe without snakes on a plane. And I can't imagine what kind of sad universe that would be in.
Very sad.
Henry Ford didn't invent the Model T until he was 45. You know, like, there is quite a great cloud of witnesses of people who have, like, figured it out later on. Hey, Rodney Dangerfield didn't start doing comedy until his 40s. You know, things like that.
Yeah. Can I choose that? So,
yeah.
For anyone listening, do you guys have a clear vision of what you want to do with your life? Because I don't, but I'm just curious. Does anybody here have that?
Oh.
No?
No.
Yes, please. There's a mic. Sorry, I just want to make this interactive, just so it's fun. Yeah. Yeah.
Are you on your own live feed? That's great.
Hello.
Hi, what's your name?
My name is Myra.
Hi, Myra.
Well, what I'm up to is creating a card game called Gracias Madrecita.
Great.
Which means thank you, mother, in a very endearing way.
Yeah.
And are we familiar with We're Not Really Strangers, the card game?
Yeah, I follow them on Instagram.
Okay,
that's all I know.
Like
game?
It's called We're Not Really Strangers.
It's like a
We're Not Really Strangers. Okay.
Have you heard of it?
It helps you start conversations.
Yes, I have. Okay.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Okay, so imagine that, but
Yeah.
it's you sitting out with your mom and journeying back to the womb. Like, what happened while you were in her belly? Because what happened for me is that my mom felt abandoned, unloved, and unwanted.
Yeah.
So I was in 4 different relationships for 10 years, not focusing on myself, just being a servant of my partner.
Yeah.
And because I felt I was going to be abandoned, the fear of abandonment.
Yeah.
And in reality, my dad just left for a week to celebrate that I was born. So there's 4 different realities happening, and I didn't even realize until I'm 30. So it's epic that you're talking about age and time.
Yeah.
So now I'm creating Gracias Madrecita, and how I'm going to market it is I'm going to create a TikTok where I go up to strangers and ask.
And ibble. Sorry, I paid for this.
I'm going to ask, hey, may I ask you a question? And you'll say yes.
Yeah.
You've been hurting human being.
Yeah.
And I'm going to ask you, if this was the last act of your mother, what would you want to know?
Oh, yeah.
At your age, or your mother's most wildest dream, did she do it?
Yeah.
Does your mom live in regret? And if she does, how does that make you feel? Does your mom want to be cremated, buried, or something else?
Yeah.
If you could be born again, would you choose your mother to care for you? What's one thing you want your mom to ask for forgiveness?
And is this
Myra, these questions?
I know. Is this something you always wanted to do? Like, is this something you always wanted to do with your mom, but the card game is...
Thing that came about, like, what? Tell us, because we're talking about dreams right now, right?
What I'm up to is, like, people to reparent themselves, heal with their moms.
Yeah.
So in the Hispanic community, like, we don't know about breathwork, EFT tapping, Reiki.
Yeah.
No. So from the type for my card game, I'm going to create... in LA, there's this epic dome called Wisdom. So imagine, like, when you go to Universal Studios and they prep you and they tell you what's going to happen, and you go to part 2, like, right? And imagine, like, family tables and the prototype, they're going to play the game, and then when they come out, there's going to be probably trauma that was released. And what are they going to do, withhold it or put that shit back in? No. They're going to be like, okay, here's a treasure map, go left.
You'll have to come a little bit closer to the mic.
You go right, Brockford, you go straight. Therapy, I'm going to partner up with BetterHelp. I already see it.
So that's your dream, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and how long have you had this?
Like 2 months. I put myself in a darkness retreat for 10 days. I was in the dark. Didn't know what time it was, what day it was. I just heard birds and fireworks, and it was. I know it was January 1st with all the fireworks happening.
Yeah. So you have
envisioned.
And it just.
You're working on this.
And it
perfect.
You were a conduit. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something that wanted to come through you. Yeah.
So I've got a question. Thank you, Myra. I appreciate it. We'll get back to you, but yes, 100%.
You're gonna be there afterwards, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So
great.
Let's say we have this. Like, she has
and she's working on it. All of us have that. What if it fails? Or maybe I have this idea of, like, I want to build a business in 2 years. Tell me what to do when in 6 months my business fails and I'm in the shower
Fail
crying.
meaning like you got no investors, nobody
Let's say
wants to come
that.
through.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm gonna make this up. Let's say, yeah, I'm raising 1 million and I only raise 200, and I make a fool of myself on social media. What do I do when I fail like that? Because it's like that thing of comparison that you said. I'm comparing myself to
Yeah.
everybody on TechCrunch who has raised this much money. I have to post about it on social media, being like, "Hey guys, I have to get a job." Tell me how to deal with that death of a dream or how to fail it. Like, how do we do that? What if Myra, for example, I just use that as like, if we have these things, or if somebody else wants to do this thing, what should we do? As a closing note to this, what should we do if the dream dies?
I almost drowned one time surfing. I surfed for like 20 years. I was out on a really big day, and and I got stuck under, and I was like, "Oh no, this is when I die," and I made it up. And when I got back to the beach, what I didn't, and I was like coughing up water. What I didn't say was, "Man, I gotta go back and figure it out." What I said was, "I gotta rethink everything about my life," because what happens. And look, I'm an artist. I'm an Enneagram 4, if you know what that means. We're mostly black. I think about dying a lot. What happens at the end of your life, or as the poet David White says, your conversation with your eventual disappearance is that all the things that are actually really important to you come to the surface, and it demands an adjustment. I think, like, what happens on the, like, so I have a thing called a death practice. It sounds really morbid, but it's not. It just reminds me.
Sounds morbid. You're right.
I know, sure. We could think of maybe like we all have an eventual ending that we're not in charge of.
What?
And so I think what I do is what I'm trying to get in touch in is what's in me the most, like Myra was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What's in me the most? Because there's a lot of noise about what I should be doing, what I think I want to do. But if you knew that you were like, hey, okay, here, I'll just give you a real tangible example. I'll get emailed about a project.
Yeah.
And I'll just go, and this is way too much pressure to put on a project, but I'll go, if this is the last project I did in my life, would I be mad about it? Like if I died in 3 months and this is the last thing I did, would I be mad about it?
And if I'm like, yeah, well, why? Well, because what would you rather? I wish I would have done this. And then the real question is, well, why aren't you doing that? Why are you ignoring that? Because if that's the thing you want to be doing the most, like, look, if I was going to die in 3 months, I wouldn't be doing shit. I would be, like, traveling and eating it. You know what I'm saying? I would be living life. Exactly, because you'd be like, what a gift this is. But I think with, like, you have something that maybe because of noise and ego and comparison and all of these stuff, you got it lost in charge. You have to get back in touch with what brings you to life. And that thing. And that is the place you want to work at. So, look, I'm not a business expert. I make a living as an artist, which is like a miracle itself. But like I know things don't work out and do work out, and I know businesses failures and start, and I don't know all the jargon for startups and stuff. But you as a person,
you're here, and that is a miracle. And what are you gonna do with being here? And what is it that you want to live out of and invite? And so, if some investor doesn't get on board, are you still gonna get up the next day and go, well, I want to live into this transformational experience? I think that's what you need to get in touch with. Like businesses, look, things will fail and succeed and all of that stuff. But I think the deeper core about like, you know, what are you going to do with being here? Are you going to say yes to who you are? We've talked a little bit. You've told me how many things didn't work out for you. But obviously there's still something that you love about being alive or being here. You got to get back in touch with that. You know, usually I'll tell you this, if we're ending, often the place that we find, the place within ourselves to stand, the voice that we have in the world is in obscurity. It's when you get removed from everything, all the other voices, all the other things, and the question in obscurity from the universe is, what do you want to talk about? What do you want to say? What do you want to do in this world? A great book is Viktor Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, if you're not familiar with it. Viktor Frankl was a psychologist who stayed in Austria. He was Jewish. He was in Auschwitz, but he made it through. 8 years later, he wrote a book about, as a psychologist, looking about how did humans exist under such amazing torture and torment, and who made it and who didn't and why. And he said that there are these core things that give life meaning. But he said that one of the things they would do to the prisoners is they would say we had to shift their question. Instead of asking life, what is the meaning of life? You had to understand that life was asking you what you thought the meaning was. And the way that you live that out is what you think the meaning is. Like, what do you think life is, and living that out. And I think that's the question we all have to get in touch with. It's a hard question. It might take you a long time. It might take you half your life. But but you'll get to it. It's there. It's the question we all must ask ourselves. So I don't know if that's a real tangible thing to do.
No, but I hear you.
But things will come and go, but you'll still be here. And I think you have to go, well, what else do I have to contribute?
Things will come and go, but you'll still be here. I like that ending quote.
Yeah. And I think you got to get in touch with what is in you the most. And so practice dying before you die.
I'll try.
Okay.
Right. Everybody, huge shout out to Scott.
Hey, thanks for inviting me to this cold ass day. Appreciate being here.
All right. We have more warmth inside. We have alcohol. We have coffee. We have snacks. Please join us. For everybody joining us, hello. And then we have the next session at 2 p.m. Thank you, everybody. And we'll talk.
Sun will rise. I love
sunny day in Austin, Texas. If you are watching, hello. We have moved inside because it's raining. This is what we're going to do main stage for a bit. This next session I'm super excited about. It's with two people I admire. It's called Not Losing Heart. And today we have on the stage, right here, as you can see, Deb O'Keefe and my friend Jason Jackson. Let's give a huge round of applause for these people.
I just want to say, y'all, we lucked out, right? We got little sprinkles, we gotta come inside now, you've got a bar right behind you. There's no excuse to go out there, okay? No excuses.
Thank you for that awesome round of applause. That was,
Yes.
that was heartwarming. Everybody should wake up and get a round of applause like that every morning.
There's the sensitive side of me that goes, are they fun for us or that they're warm?
The warmth, but I'll take it. You know, the theory behind laughter and what it does to your brain, right? You know, even if you don't feel like laughing, if you make yourself laugh, your brain says, oh, they're happy. And I think when you hear an applause like that, it doesn't matter if it's from you. It's the same part of your brain that thinks, oh, they're doing that for me. Just imagine if we all woke up every morning to a round of applause like that. Mental health days, they wouldn't exist. We'd all go to work going, I got this.
And that was the challenge. I don't remember one of the first times we hung out and chatted, but it's a thing that I make my daughter do, and I'll challenge all of you in here to do this as well. Wake up tomorrow morning, look in the mirror and say, I love you to yourself.
Yeah.
Say it out loud, though. Don't say it in your head.
No, you're supposed to say more than that.
Right?
You're supposed to, I have a friend who makes me put post-it notes on my mirror, so there's, I hate saying these things, but that's why she makes me say it. I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm clever, I'm beautiful, I'm more than what people might think of me. I'm more than what I think I am. And in fact, I have a very specific one. I'm more than just Deb. And the Deb for me is, it's a cute but sad thing. And I started dating a guy a few years ago, and he wasn't from Austin, so he didn't know that I've been on the radio for 20 years here. And even though I'm on the radio, a lot of people recognize me. They might hear my voice and go, shit, oh, can I swear on this thing?
Well, that's
and they'll
just
go,
it.
are you Deb?
One of the most recognized voices.
Yeah, I can't get away from it. I'm buying shoes or underwear, or I'm at the gynecologist. And literally this has happened. Not by my gyno, but by the nurse. Are you Deb? Like, Deb? And when I was dating this guy a few years ago, he said, that's just the cutest thing. So he still has me, we're just friends now, but in his phone it says Deb O'Keefe. And when I got fired from my show that I created of 15 years being on the radio here, I said to him, I'm not Deb anymore. And he looked at me and he said, you will always be Deb. You will always be Deb. It's just a different version. And that's what I've been working on for the last year, is who am I? Who is the new Deb? And that's what I put on the mirror as well. You're more than just Deb. So I would recommend people doing that, especially if you're going through a transitional time of who you are, work-wise, COVID-wise, whatever it might be. It's important to know that you'll always be a you, maybe a slightly different version of you, and that's what I've been working on for the last year.
Yeah, it's interesting, right? And something I want to dive into right away here is you've gone through a lot of challenges throughout your life. You know, you've crossed the pond. You've gone
It was
through
a big swim, Jason.
It was a big swim.
It was a really big swim.
But in everything you've done, one of the most remarkable things, and I want to ask this first, is you've kept your heart. In the hardest times, in the hardest moments, you're still loving the animals that love you. You're still graciously trying to help people any way you can. I remember when your boy Blue was lost. And
Blue was my dog, by the way.
Blue was her dog.
Not just like a dog, though, but like
personality.
The dog. My soulmate. Which sounds stupid if you've never had a dog soulmate, but if you have, you know the one that just rips you apart. Just the thought. And that's why I know Jason bring this up, because you sort of lived through this, but the thought of me not having Blue around made me, I had this thing that I would say to myself, to him, oh my God, Jerry, thinking about it, because it's so wrong but it was so real, I would think, when you go, I go. I said that to my dog, when you go, I go. I'm not married, no kids, fine with that, but like this guy was my life. When you go, I go, and I had that in my mind for a couple of years, and this guy, my dog was maybe 8, 10 when I was thinking these things, thinking, all right, he's going to get 14 years, that was in my brain. And one day I had literally a meltdown of I can't continue, I can't live without this dog, I don't see a purpose, don't see a reason. And I was in a really bad way, but I called a friend, and I told her exactly the way I was thinking, and she came around and literally picked me up off the couch and put me in bed, and we talked, and she sort of, I don't know, it sort of gradually, I had to come to the realization that if I thought like that, then I would be hurting way more people than Blue would hurt me by leaving me. So, and I love what the previous guest said on stage earlier about like suicide being on the spectrum, because I guess at some way I've never thought of it. That was like suicidal ideation. Yeah, and I had never thought that would be me before, and it was over a dog.
But more importantly, how do you keep your heart after a loss like that? Because you have, and you continually give in after that, and you can see the response in artists like Sherwin painting that picture of Blue for you, and others just continually reaching out with not only support, but also in trying to understand, how do I tap into that depth? How in my hardest moments do I tap into giving to pull myself out of the funk?
It sort of goes back to, you're more than just your name, and more than just, me being Deb, or you being a dad, or you being a mom, or you being a worker. There's so much more to it in life, and you have to keep giving in order to stay around, I think. And for me, that meant, okay, I've got to start fostering more animals. I've got to start, I started my Meals on Wheels routes shortly after that. And I think if you are able to be more than you to others, for others, you start realizing that you really do need to be around. You need to be there, and you need to be giving, and giving in any way, shape or form. It's just so important, and it gives you giving to others and helping others in whatever way, shape or form you choose to do it really does influence the way you feel about yourself. And then also makes you say, well, who am I gonna, who's gonna miss me if I'm not around? Well, those 12 people you deliver meals to every Friday.
Yeah.
Miss Estella is going to miss you bringing, I would bring Blue Boy on my Meals on Wheels route. And then when I lost him and accidentally foster failed another dog, Alfie, I brought him around and realized I'm giving so much joy in this tiny thing that is just 2 hours of my day. And they look forward to it. And I think keeping heart is tough sometimes when your heart is broken. And having a broken heart from the loss of an animal, the loss of a loved one, the loss of a career, the loss of somewhat of my identity. I think the other lesson that I've learned is you have to understand that you're in that moment right now, and that we only live in the now. Now is actually just gone. We're in the new now. But this moment will not be forever. It cannot be forever. There will always be change. There will always be something else that comes along. And keeping the faith, trying to stay strong in the worst times. You just have to continually know that you need to get through it, and that moment will pass. And it's way old shit your mum would tell you. When you're heartbroken as a teenager. It's not going to last forever. In that moment, it's forever. But the moment's changed, and now really is just now. And keeping the heart means knowing that the heartbreak you feel now, the loss that you feel now, will always be a part of you, but it will be lessened in the pain that it gives you.
Outside of heartbreak, as a person who interviews and invests in people to pull as much out of them as you can, how do you recharge your batteries? How do you recharge your heart? How do you make sure your heart's full for you first, so that you can ask and understand and have empathy for those people that you talk to?
Wow, I don't know. You know, actually at the moment I would say that I'm not doing that very well. I'm not, wow, you bastard. That was a really good question.
Mark that, because I think that is my ringtone.
I mean, really, it's a really important question. How, you know, I have a really good friend, and she's adorable, and she just got a new girlfriend, and I'm the first friend that met the new girlfriend, and it's serious, so I'm really thrilled that I was the one. And the way she describes her girlfriend is, she fills my buckets. Now, my friend Gina, her name is, she's really good at filling her own buckets with love and things. And I'm really good at filling other people's buckets with love and help. And you just made me realize I'm not really filling my bucket much for myself at the moment. I'm still in a space of I don't know how to do that. I don't know how. I'm really working on the self-care of the sticky notes on the window. My friend makes me shout affirmations, which I'm really bad at doing. So to answer your question, I'm failing in that right now. I'm still a little bit broken from my last year. Working hard to get to a place emotionally, physically and financially that will be closer to the life I've had for the last 20 years. But spiritually, for myself, I think I'm just working. I think I'm doing the grind, making my life happen. And I'm not really enriching myself right now. For example, I'm single and I'm not looking at dating. It's not that if it happened, I wouldn't. I'm not exploring it. I don't know. There's a part of me that has just almost given up and I don't care anymore. You bastard, I'm saying, I'm floating right now, I would say.
But let me say one thing for you really quick.
Yeah.
I don't think, because someone who's single, they're not dating, or not looking to date, isn't giving up. I think that's your subconscious realizing that you've got to fill your heart first. So you don't have to put that energy over there. You've got to put it on you. So you've got this reservoir of energy that right now might be focusing on work, it might be focusing on Alfie, but it's calling for you, and it's saying, hey, I'm over here, and I'm not going to let you go somewhere else until at least this bucket's got a couple of drops in it.
It's a really good point, because it's advice I give to others, your friends and loved ones after a big breakup. Just you gotta get back to you first. Get back to you. Get back to being okay. Last year I was not in the position to be dating people because I was just a mess. I'm not going to put that mess on anybody else. I don't want other people's mess. So maybe I am just subconsciously not bothered about dating because I'm not. Maybe I'm not feeling like I'm much of a gift to anybody right now. What have I got to give? God damn it, this is a giant therapy session in front of 50 strangers. God knows how many other people that are going to be watching this later. Alright, I'm fine, by the way, I'm fine.
She's great.
I'm fine. No, you know what, I am fine because I've started doing things. This is how I know I'm feeling better about myself. My hairdresser kind of showed me how to use a straightening iron to do these things. I guess girls have been doing this forever. I just started doing this. I have 4 brothers and a mother who doesn't know shit about hair, so I'm 47 and I'm just learning how to do it. But I'm starting to sort of, care a little bit more about my presentation. I have a new jumpsuit right now. I bought this recently, guys. Nice. I look like an airman. Got it at Target. It's like $30. Feeling good about that too. So I think maybe I'm still on that journey, Jason, of making sure this product is something that I want to sell, get out there. I'm still doing well and taking care of my loved ones, my animal family, my friends, who are my family here in Austin. Maybe I need to go do some more yoga or something. Work on myself.
No, and it's just, we're at a time, we're here at South by Southwest, we're in and at a time where it is, for us and for people in the tech and media scene, this is the moment, right, where you expend all of your energy. This is the moment where you're giving it all, and I think that one thing that these moments miss is there's not a time to get back. There's not a time for reflection. And then two, I think the other thing that companies miss and people miss that work for those companies is like, this is our bank. Look, we did. I'm like, no, this is your launching pad. You're in the pilot seat, or you're on the passengers, but now you've got to finish the trip. And whether that's real life, or whether that's your job, or whether that's a media opportunity, I always tell people, like, if this is it, you're doing it wrong. This is the catalyst, the spark, this is the impulse. And think of the conversations we've had prior and in between the other speakers here at ibble, right? Think about those conversations that don't happen if we're not here, but also think about them this way. Not only can they not happen, but if that's it, then what was the point of having it?
Right, you're right. No, that there is that catalyst moment. And there is more than the now and the it. Yeah. It's a movement, it's a journey. God, I sound like a manufacturer. It's a journey.
It's a journey.
I'm on a journey.
You get a rose. As a person who's interviewed and talked with people and, presented yourself so much to everyone to hear. I've never asked you this, I've always wanted to. How easy or how hard is it to date Deb O'Keefe knowing that Deb doesn't have any secrets?
You probably have to ask all of my ex-boyfriends. I do think they find it strange when somebody would come up to us in the street and say, "Oh, are you the one who only wears one type of underwear and won't get naked in the bedroom in case somebody breaks in? Or are you the one who puts his leg up on the toilet seat and dries his undercarriage with a hairdryer? Is that you? Is that your?" Because I tell those stories, and a boyfriend did do that for real. Every time he
That's breakup material right there.
Stand up and just.
No, that's breakup material. That's not okay.
He also lived with his mom, so there was way more going on than just that. She used to shave his back.
That's a close
I dated him for 3 years. It was the best sex I ever had.
Well, that's going to keep going, right?
Yeah, he was very good. Did good work. But it's interesting. I feel for the guys that date me sometimes, just because of the public nature of what I do and the stories I tell.
It's just so obtusely different than from a regular relationship where you walk in, you're like, okay, now you're going to meet Sally, then you're going to meet my friend Tom, here we go, let's go have dinner, and versus the exposure moment for you it was a morning radio show, now it's your podcast, and that's hundreds of thousands of people all of a sudden knowing who that person is instantly.
That's why everybody I've dated has had a nickname on the show, on my podcast, to somewhat protect them. But literally the other day, I was hanging out with my most recent ex-boyfriend, we're friends, it's weird, and somebody came up and said, "Oh my God, are you San Antonio guy?" Because that was the name I had given him, and he's like, "I guess so. I'm still San Antonio."
Still San Antonio guy. You're still Deb.
I'm still San Antonio. There's still the broccolini farmer. That was another one.
Yep.
What was the other? Best sex ever. That was one. Yeah. He had other nicknames too, but.
Being in Austin, which has obviously grown very fast, and being a public figure here, I'm curious because, we're friends, we bump into each other downtown, running around, but you're in a different kind of spotlight. What's that like carrying that weight? Knowing that it's not just you in public. Like, if Southwest loses my bags, and I'm in that area, right, and I'm talking to that person, like, "Oh, do you have this? I can dump my briefcase out and throw a temper tantrum, and no one's going to care. If you don't tip the right amount, you're going to get some shit on Twitter.
Yeah.
What does that do to you, the fact that when you're carrying that weight of everyone's is kind of watching you?
Yeah. There are sometimes people have no clue, and there are sometimes when you know you're under the microscope. And there are sometimes when people act like they don't know who you are and everyone's cool, and they totally know who you are, and they'll reach out on Instagram and say, "I waited on you at Cura's yesterday." I'm like, "Oh, you so hard." But I'm a pretty genial person. I like chatting to everybody, so I'm always really friendly to anybody, whether they know me or not. My Uber driver here today was Cuban and spoke absolutely no English, so I just had a conversation with him in Spanish. There's no reason he would know who I was, but so I just try and always act nice, whether I'm feeling it or not. But there are times I've been telling people this is messed up, and because a normal human would do that. But I wouldn't spill my briefcase and go bollocks on them, because that's when you get blown up on social media or called out, or people just meet you and stop listening to your product anymore. So there is a weight that carries with it. But I think even my old partner Jason and I, we're just pretty fun, genial people. So we have decent interactions with everybody. And then oftentimes, if somebody has been in the wrong and I've told them, and then they call me out on social media, I've learned to not let it get to me, to put things in perspective, and know that people get things wrong a lot. People misinterpret situations. I wish I had this brain when I was in my 20s, because you react so much quicker when you're younger. And now I always put myself in the other person's shoes if I get called out. Someone says, well, you did this and you said that, and that was annoying or wrong or hurtful. Instead of going, oh, sorry, I said it, it's true, I meant it. And I've done that plenty. I still feel that way, but I'll say, please stop a minute, put myself in their shoes and go, yeah, maybe that was hurtful to them, or maybe that was annoying. Noted, got you, hear you, see you. And I'll just, put it in the bank of maybe I should approach something differently next time.
Random weird question here, but
Adjust to the left.
what is, for you, emotional availability? Are British men or American men more emotionally available?
Well, that's rude because there are some of both here.
I know.
You know what I've always said? Man's is man's is man's.
Cold cynical?
I have dated, I should do a chart one day, like on the map of where I've dated guys from and their ethnic minorities and the different languages spoken and body type and hair type, lack of hair type, job type, lack of job type. It's across the board. I've done it all. An equal opportunity dater. Just don't be a dick. And I've dated some dicks. Oh my god, get this. They slide in there sometimes when you don't realize it. No pun intended. I don't know. Englishmen, some of them are just real jerks because they think they're all that. They're very suave. And then American guys, like, you invented chads. You invented bros. Thanks for that. So I gotta deal with those guys.
Hey, y'all been Karen, so come on now.
We are women. Yeah, we did invent Karen. No, but no, they're the same. It doesn't matter. You guys are all the same. No offense. Like, where are you from? There are dickheads everywhere. There are some guy in Nepal who's gonna ghost you. It's just men.
So I got the flash. We have about 10 minutes left. Before we go anywhere, people are still listening. Real quick, let everyone know.
At Deb O'Keefe. I'm single.
And also, what's your handle on Ibble?
Debibble. Guys, I'm Debibble. Isn't that great? It wasn't taken. It's just Debibble. But I'm Debibble. People will say to me, "Oh, you're so Debibble."
So Debibble. I like it.
Maybe that'd be the new one. Instead of Deb, I'm Debibble now.
She's Debibble.
Yeah. Debibble.
Final question for you here.
Wait, I have a question.
Okay.
Do Ibble subscribers and users, do you guys like animals as much as I do? Because I have 4 of them and I want to put them lots of content on Ibble.
Put them all there.
Yes? Okay, I really okay. Because that's basically 90% of my content. Hashtag Forever Blue. Tattooed on my arm. Most of my, actually, I posted my account yesterday, and I was looking through my pictures, Jason. I've got 10,000 pictures in my phone. I'm like, okay, one where I don't look like a complete turd. No, turd. And then there's a picture that I screenshotted because it came from a memory on Facebook of me and Blue Boy. So that is my ibble profile picture, is me and my dead dog of 3 years. So that's how, yeah, I still miss him. Sorry, other dogs. Alfie, Brady, I love you too. Kip, what up, bro? Coco, you're cool, but a dick. So all those guys will be on ibble coming up very soon. So thank you for having me on ibble. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. One last thing before you go here, Deb, before we our time's off. It's about the heart and the healing of the heart. And as someone who's gone through so much over the last 3 years, outside of, it's going to get better, is there something you can tell people out there, just a moment of hope?
I have it. Adopt an animal. Just when I knew Blue was sick, when he finally got sick, not just me thinking he's going to die, he got cancer, doing chemotherapy, acupuncture. I got a kitten. I adopted a kitten from Williamson County because they're assholes and they don't spay and neuter. Spay and neuter your pets, Wilco, and everyone. But you give yourself, you adopt an animal, and it's not all about you anymore. However bad you're feeling, you're a caretaker now. And adopting an animal from a bad situation, there were a hoarder's situation recently at the Tomlinsons I go to. 2 cats there from hoarder situation. Do something good, find an animal, follow a program. Follow something on ibble that gives you inspiration. Give back. Give back. When your bucket is empty, like the bottom is actually broken and everything's down there and you can't get someone in to mend the bottom of that bucket, just try and start giving to others. Go and do Meals on Wheels. Help your local children's shelter. Whatever it might be, just give. And I think it will start fixing you and helping you without you even noticing it, and then all of a sudden you're in a place where you're feeling okay again. So that's my stupid advice.
Well, thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. The off the topic, never duplicated, very powerful, Deb O'Keefe, and don't worry, she's British, so there's going to be subtitles on the YouTube. It'll be good.
Thank you guys, love you.
Thank you.
Dime by the squatter's dogs, rock by the shaman's overlay, mom at a common grog. Overflow the levee, hope it soak the very roots. We animate the council of the topiary wolves. Move them out, roll high, stood his ground like a 2-headed hound with God's eyes. The botany's alive and rotten me. I'm aches, I flip the fertilizer bombs like water into the yawning of its filthy ivy farms. The jelliest canary in the mind's overdoses. When a canis lupus halitosis smells like guns and roses. Honestly, the bark and bite are really shit. Either receive or be eager to dip or be meat but a spit. Are you the singing bush? Strictly crooning minor keys. The deafening on mechanical reliance till the fiber screams tiger. Look, bring your bangers to brawl. They bring your bangers and mash home for all. It's raw. Still chewing gum. Coyote, come a wild E. Fighters never stand still. Chase birds, dodge pianos, and bowling anvils. Jaws know the now and later's apple cherry grape. With green grass roots to pluck the topiary ape. Sunny weather, the Macy's November with fewer tethers. We spotlights in the city like a Bambi eye collector. Howard pill fist, Donkey Kong chest, check the gesture. Pine cone avalanche, hit the decker. 20 wolves up, 1 down, what a town. Squirrels in the chimney, too stubborn for puffing out. And for the record, can't say I blame the little bastards. It's tonight something allowed passion and practice of the pacifist. Thorn choke pad, gather bloody flowers. Just sprinkle on the human analog cadavers after. With no gorilla sign language, breakthrough for the moment.
big task and burden like that. So now it is up to us to get people to do this. So what everyone needs to do is work around their communities, around their families, around their friends, around their church, and say, how can I make sure that all of my friends are healthy? How can I make sure that everyone in my family is healthy? And really make a plan, because it's up to us now to make sure we get people to the Hey, that was fun.
Hey, hey, check, hey, ha, ha. What?
Thank you.